I think that would probably go back to high school for me. When I was looking to go to college, looking for a major, I pretty quickly focused in on criminal justice and decided I wanted to be a police officer. At that point, I didn't really know that I wanted to be a Texas Ranger, but I knew I wanted to be a police officer. So once I got to college, I had a friend of mine in college. His dad was the highway patrol sergeant in my hometown. So his dad found out I wanted to go into law enforcement, and he goes, "You have got to come to work for DPS. We're the best agency. You'll love it. There's so many things you can do. You could be a Texas Ranger one day." And literally, as soon as he said that, I was like, okay, I'm going to DPS. Before I started the academy, it was kind of my inspiration to come to DPS. And before the academy started, I knew that I wanted to be a Texas Ranger. So before applying for DPS, I didn't know anything more than what I had learned in 4th grade, 7th grade Texas history. Once I came to the department, very early on in my career, I was exposed to a ranger. We had a ranger in our office in Sulphur Springs, Danny Ray. As a trooper, I had multiple times that I interacted with Danny on scenes, manhunts, some shooting scenes. I knew him from the office, drinking coffee with him in the mornings, and he was always super friendly, very nice, very supportive of me. But I also got to see him at work. We had a deal one time where a guy had broken into a lady's house. She had called law enforcement. They responded. They ended up getting a shootout with the guy. It was very, very rural Hopkins County. They got in a shootout with the guy. He was hit. They had a little bit of a blood trail. He had run out of the back of the house, and it was literally very rural, lots of acreage. So the next morning, my FTO picks me up for work, and we go out on this manhunt. So the sheriff's posse was out there for the sheriff's office. They were all on horseback. It was us, me and my partner, another trooper, some detectives and other deputies and stuff. So we had a perimeter set up, and ultimately one of the sheriff's posse deputies found him in a deer stand out in just this pasture. So we all come rolling out to this pasture. He had a gun. He was in the tree. He was communicating. Danny was negotiating, and a Hopkins County detective, a sheriff's office detective, was with Danny, and they were negotiating with the guy. And I can't remember how long we were there. We were there a good while, and ultimately he ends up committing suicide in the tree. They were unable to talk him down, and he, came out of the tree. That was probably my first work-related experience with a ranger. And then throughout my time in narcotics, I worked quite a bit with the Rangers on various projects and cases and things. So yeah, I knew quite a bit about them and knew several of them before I tested for Ranger. The work was what I expected it to be. It was a little bit more involved. It was a lot busier. It was, we get consulted with and leaned on and, pulled into a lot of different situations that I probably wasn't really expecting, but pretty much it was on point. But what I wasn't prepared for is walking into a restaurant and everyone turning their head and looking. And it's not necessarily because I'm a female ranger, I don't think. I think it's just that ranger persona and that ranger look. It's just interesting to people. And it's not something they see a lot. And I can't tell you how many times I meet people or I talk to people and they say, "I've never met a Texas Ranger." And I'm like, well, there's not that many of us, so unless you're in trouble, you probably won't meet one of us, unless we live in your community or, go to your church or something like that. So yeah, I think that I wasn't prepared for the public's reaction maybe to the Ranger uniform and job. This is the best job I've ever had, I have to say. I loved being a Ranger. I loved being a trooper. I loved being a trooper. So I wanted to be a major, and it's something I had my sights set on. As a captain, you're sitting there, you're anticipating, you're waiting your turn. You don't care where you go, you're just ready to make major. And I don't know if it's because I came to Company F that makes it so great, or it's just the job of major that makes it so great. And I'll tell you, I know what makes it great for me is my Rangers. The public perception is, something I wasn't prepared for, but I think overall it's good. The history of the Rangers that's really what we stand upon as Rangers. All of the Rangers who came before us from the very beginning. And as a Ranger walking into a investigation, walking into a restaurant, walking into the museum, we have instant credibility. And it's not because of anything I've done. It's not because of anything that we in Company F have done. It's all of the people who came before us. Every person in this division has instant credibility when whatever venue they step into, because of all the people who came before us. So basically the Ranger job is full-time, nonstop, phone rings constantly. And it still does too, to this degree for me, but it's a whole different kind of phone ringing. It's not investigators calling and asking advice on scenes or asking me to come out and help them with something. Where I'm at now is it's Rangers or lieutenants that need something, or they need advice, or they need guidance, or they need equipment, or something, it has to come to my level to get done, and so my phone still rings nonstop. It's just different. It's different work, and it's taking care of other people, not just myself. I worked a case when I was a Ranger in Montgomery County on a female, elderly female. She was 82 years old at the time, and she was defrauding some immigrants of money, lots of cash, under the guise of filling out their paperwork for them and submitting it to immigration for them on their behalf. So they were paying her the fees that it cost to file the forms. This went on for a year, probably, maybe a little longer, until finally they realized she wasn't doing anything to help them. She was just taking their money. And so they actually sought counsel from an immigration attorney in Houston, and that attorney took it to the DA's office in Montgomery County. Montgomery County DA's office called me and asked me if I'd work it. They said, we don't even know who to give this to, but this is what we have, and it looks like it's probably going to be a legitimate thing. One of the ladies had actually gone to visit her and had recorded a video. There was a little bit of a confrontation. She confronted her about not filing the paperwork, and the lady blew her off. And so there was enough there that there was something going on. And so, yeah, I started working that case, and ultimately I was able to work it up to where it looked like I had about 13 victims, that it looked like about $130,000 that I could pretty much prove that she had taken. And I think it was probably well more than that, well above that number. So I ended up filing a theft charge on her. We ran an undercover sting on her, and ultimately ended up arresting her for the thefts. I went back after the fact and did a lot of background on her, and she was a lifetime con artist. But one of the things that she was doing when we did the search warrant, she had some jewelry in her closet, and it was very high-end jewelry, and you could tell it was. And it had a local jewelry store tag on it. There was a receipt there, and it was a very significant amount of money that she spent on this. And I'm sitting here thinking, there's no way this lady has the money to spend on this. She had gone to the local jewelry store. She had bought some things there before. That was kind of her scheme. She would build trust. She'd do a little bit, a little here, a little there. She'd build up trust, and she's a little old lady, so everybody believes her. And they went to run her card, and it didn't go through. And so she had this story that she told, and she told it so much she probably believed it, but that she had a trust fund from her parents when they died, and she could just move money around, was always her story to everybody. So she tells this jewelry store, oh, I forgot, I didn't move, I was supposed to move some money out of my trust fund over here to this card. I forgot to do it, I'll do it when I get home. And they said, okay, well here, you can take the jewelry and then we'll just rerun the card tomorrow. Well, she didn't have the funds for that. She didn't have the money for it. So she basically had stolen the jewelry. And so it was in her closet. We recovered that. We also discovered that Conroe PD had taken a report. The jewelry store had filed a theft report on her, just like a day or two before we ran this warrant. And then, in addition to that, she had a brand new Cadillac SUV sitting in her garage with buyer's tags on it. And we're like, how did she afford this? When did she buy this? So while we're on scene, the DA picks up the phone, the assistant DA that's working this case with me. She picks up the phone and she calls the Cadillac dealership in Houston where she bought this car. And they're like, oh yeah, she was putting down a $5,000 payment on it, down payment. She wrote them a check and told them that she had to move some money around and not to cash the check until that day, the day that we were there, and that the check would go through or whatever. Well, that was the day we ran our undercover scheme on her, and we were paying her $5,000 for the paperwork that she was completing on this particular undercover scheme. So she was literally already had the $5,000 spent that we were giving her. She was going to have to run straight to the bank, put it in, so that check she wrote the dealership would pass. So the DA basically said she doesn't have $5,000 in her account, and she's not going to have $5,000 in her account, and she's going to jail. And the Cadillac dealership said, can we come get our car? So she had those two scams going on in addition to what she was running. They were basically funding her scams, the money she was stealing from them. So anyway, that's the first part of the case. Put her in jail. And this was all about the time where the Kaufman County DA murders occurred. And that's national news. You know, you've got an assistant DA, then you have a DA and his wife that's murdered. National news, and it's complete and full coverage all the time. So she's apparently sitting in her tank at the Montgomery County Jail, watching this on TV, and hatches this bright idea to kill the DA, to hire a hitman to kill the DA in Montgomery County. Her justification for this was, well, she'll kill the DA and her case will get dismissed. Ma'am, there's like 20 ADAs here. They'll just move it over to somebody else, you know. So anyway, she approached a girl that was in the same tank with her and asked her if she knew a hitman, that she wanted to hire a hitman. Well, the girl's like, why do you need a hitman, you know? So she tells her, I want to kill the DA on my case. And that girl, like, she comes forward. She writes a letter to the jail staff and says she wants to talk to somebody about this inmate and that she's trying to hire a hitman. Well, the jail staff looks at it and says, oh, Wendy's got this guy or this lady in jail. She's in on her charges. We'll call her. So they call me and I pull the girl. My office was at the sheriff's office. I pulled that girl in my office and I asked her, I was like, what's going on? And so she tells me. And the girl says, she goes, ma'am, she goes, I'm bad. She goes, I'm a criminal. I've done extensive retail theft. I've driven drugs from San Antonio to Houston. I've done all kinds of stuff. She goes, but I have never killed anybody and I'm not going to start now. So she goes, this lady is evil. Consulted with the DA's office. I ended up putting a digital recorder on, taped it to the informant. And I told her, I said, look, you got about 8 hours of battery on this thing. You're just going to wear it 8 hours. Just go in there, and if she starts talking about it, let her talk. As soon as she walks in the cell, that lady hits her up, asking her, have you talked to Charlie? Because she had already made up some name that she had for this hitman guy. So once we confirmed that that's exactly what she was wanting to do, I got a HPD guy who had worked Vice before. He posted an undercover, went to the jail. She tells him she'll pay him $5,000 to kill the DA and all that stuff. So that was pretty much the figurative nail in her coffin. She ends up pleading guilty because we ended up filing charges on her for that, obviously. She ends up pleading guilty, and then we had like about a 3-day punishment hearing. And the AG's office actually ended up taking over prosecution on this case. So the Montgomery County DA, he's obviously the victim, one of the victims, he can't prosecute it. So he asked the AG's office to come in. It's a major case, but it's not like a capital murder case, you know. And this DA, or this AG, this Attorney General's prosecutor, that's all she did was capital murder stuff and high profile murder trials. And I was like, why did you take this case? And she goes, because it's so different. We had about a 3-day punishment hearing, and she ended up, I think, was sentenced to 58 years on the combined theft and the solicitation of capital murder charges. Last year, or year before, she passed away. She was in TDCJ. It was a death sentence for her. So, but lifetime con artist. Interviewed her about the solicitation of capital murder, where she tried to hire the hitman. Cold, no remorse, just flat out said yes, yep, she hired him. She hired that guy to kill the DA. So, very strange. So I attended the National Forensic Academy in Knoxville, Tennessee in 2011. That's very extensive, high-profile crime scene investigation training, and people from all over the country, all over the world, people from other parts of the world actually attend that. And they're very small class sizes, but we send about 4 Rangers a year, and I was lucky to be able to go to that. When I first came on, we still had a hypnosis program, so I actually became certified as a forensic hypnotist. And throughout my Ranger years, on multiple occasions, I did hypnosis sessions for various cases. We had a lot of training we had to attend to maintain our certification, and we weren't using it enough to really justify spending the money on the training. So, kind of went by the wayside. And forensic hypnosis was a hot topic around that time, a little controversial. So, it was just easier to it wasn't as beneficial as, wasn't that beneficial. So we ended up doing away with that program. If I had to say, pick one, I would say Christine Nix is probably one of the most inspirational to me. I have, very early on in my career, I didn't really know her. I met her through hypnosis, actually. Through the hypnosis training is how I first met her, because she was very involved in our program whenever she was a Ranger, an active Ranger. And then just, through the years, I've had a lot of interactions with her. And at this point in my career, I've had a lot of interactions with her. She's just she's just very energetic. She's very positive. She just has a great outlook on life. She has great stories from when she was a Ranger. And I don't know, she's just probably super inspirational to me, and just really, I see her, I've known her as a retired Ranger. I was never a Ranger while she was an active Ranger. And so she gives me a good picture of what I hope my retirement looks like from the Rangers. So the International Association of Chiefs of Police, IACP, they have a Women's Leadership Institute training that they created. It's a 1-week training, leadership training, for female leaders or aspiring leaders. I was a Ranger when I went to it. I wasn't even a lieutenant yet. And so it's just women leaders from other agencies and other, some are federal agencies, some are, local law enforcement, who teach courses on just, ethical leadership. Not really anything specific per se to women. It's just a good supportive environment where you just, it's leadership classes that are helpful whenever, you have never been a leader, especially like I had never been technically, had a leader title. going to those types of courses, and you see and interact with women who are chiefs of police and, you know, big, huge agencies across the state. And at the time I went, it was in New Orleans, the class I went to. And the appointed U.S. Marshal at that time was a lady named Jenny May, and she attended the training. She didn't teach any of the courses, but she was sat on a panel and did some mentoring and stuff. And she was very, very memorable for me, my time with her and interaction with her. And in fact, later on in my career, I had some more interaction with her. When I was in Laredo, they had needed some help out of New Orleans, the marshal's office did, and she reached out, and I had a ranger in Laredo help her with a case. But yeah, so it's just a lot of it's really about networking, because you're in a class with people women from all over the country. And in fact, that class ended up resulting in some of the best friendships and strongest friendships that I have still to this day. I have a group, there's a group of 5 of us that are very, very close. We met in that class. We have probably texted, we've been in a text group ever since. That was end of 2013, I think, November 2013. We literally talk every day. We take vacations together. We go to sporting events. We all love football, so we go to a lot of football games, travel the country. Sometimes it's just a weekend in Nashville, or, you know, just somewhere where we all get together. But one of the girls is she retired from the Michigan State Police as a lieutenant colonel. One retired from the Rhode Island State Police as a major. One retired from New Hampshire State Police as a sergeant. And then there's 2 of us still working. So me, and then my friend in Virginia. She's a lieutenant colonel of Virginia State Police. So we were all state police from other states, met in New Orleans, and just formed this bond and this friendship. Within a week, we all knew we were kind of the same, you know, along the same type of person, you know. And so yeah, they're lifelong friends of mine, and we've been through a lot of stuff together over the years, and one day we'll all be retired. The ones who have retired have actually gone on to get second jobs, but me and Karen, we joke with the other ones that they don't have real jobs anymore. I don't really think it's any different for me than it is for, you know, Billy Mims and Company D, and Kip Westmoreland and Company A, and Patrick Pena and Company C. I think you were all super excited when you get that call that you're going to be a major. You know, and I don't know. I don't look at it really as anything special. I think it's what I wanted to do, and I feel like it was my calling, you know. I don't think that there's really anything special about me. I think I'd be here if I was a man. I'd be here too in the same position, because it's just who I am inside. So I don't know. I don't know. I just don't feel like it's that big of a deal. I think other people make a bigger deal of it than I do. You know, like, if there's anything that is really cool about it, it's for all the people that are coming up behind me, whether they're CID agents, troopers, or little girls in 4th grade, you know, or college. That is really cool, because it helps hopefully to inspire them to know that the sky's the limit. They can do anything they want to do, and that just because you're a girl, there's no restrictions on that. So that is the best part of it. Other than that, I'm just normal. I'm very lucky to work with all the majors that I work with now. All of us, we've all kind of come up through DPS together, and we're all friends, you know. And that's one of the best parts of being a major. Is location's great. Like I said earlier, I love my guys and stuff, but I also love the other majors that I work with. And we're friends. We communicate a lot. We make each other laugh. You know, we help each other out when we have tough decisions to make, and consult with each other. And it's just a really good time to be a major in the Rangers. And other groups of majors may have had that same dynamic. I don't know. but you don't, I guess you really know until you're in it. But yeah, we have a great group. We have a great group, and I think that the division as a whole is very strong. I think our morale is high. Our chiefs are great. We have a lot of support, so I'm very, very happy here where I'm at.